If you've been following this channel, it's no secret the Steam Deck has become my go-to. It got me back into gaming and is a huge reason that this channel even exists. So when VITURE reached out asking me if I would review their XR glasses, I was intrigued. I've seen XR glasses before, and while I wasn't actively shopping for them, they were on my radar, mostly because I just like cool tech. And what made this interesting was VITURE didn't pitch these as a replacement to the Steam Deck, but as more of a companion, something that could enhance the way that I already use it. And because this product is not cheap, I wanted to actually use it to see if they genuinely add anything to the experience of owning the Steam Deck, or if they're just a cool idea on paper. And just to be clear, if you're perfectly happy with gaming on the Steam Deck, you probably do not need these. But with all that said, instead of starting with specs, we're just gonna get into how these things work with the Steam Deck, because that's really the only reason I would even consider picking these up. And here's the first thing I noticed right away. Just like the Steam Deck, they're ready to go straight out the box. No setup, no downloads. I plugged them into the deck and boom, there was my home screen. A big, bright, sharp image that got even sharper as I dialed them in. The top dials let you fine-tune focus for each eye, which took maybe a minute, but once it clicks, it stayed comfortable. So right away, the ease of setup, that was a big plus. Now after a few minutes of wearing them, I'll be honest, I was a little worried about if my eyes would adjust. As you can see, I wear glasses, so there was an adjustment period. I mean, the image was still super clear, but it definitely was not like looking at an actual screen. But after about 10 minutes of playing Black Mesa, I was locked in. Bashing head crabs and exploring the Black Mesa research lab, it felt surreal experiencing it like this. I completely forgot I was even worried about the eye comfort. I really wanted to spend time with these before making this video. Like I mentioned, I'm currently locked into Black Mesa, with Half-Life 3 allegedly somewhere in the near future. This felt like the perfect first-person test case. I tried everything, sitting upright in the chair, lounging on the couch, in the car, all the ways that make the deck so great. But what really stuck with me, what actually changed the experience, was using them at night, lights off, lying in bed. Using the Steam Deck in bed was already great, but these let me get even more comfortable, almost into the position that I sleep in, while feeling even more immersed, not less. In a dark room, everything just disappears. VITURE rates this as a 52-degree field of view, and they claim that it's the equivalent to about a 152-inch screen. And that scale explains why it feels so immersive when you're locked in. And another thing that surprised me, I didn't even need headphones. With the built-in audio powered by Harman, I was lying next to my wife, playing at a comfortable volume, and she was sound asleep the entire time. One thing I was genuinely curious about was how these actually work, because the first time you put them on, if you've never worn anything like this, it really will blow your mind. Inside the glasses are two very small but sharp displays, one for each eye built into the frames. Instead of looking directly at a screen, the image is reflected through these angled lenses and directed straight into your eye. In simple terms, the glasses trick your eyes into seeing a giant screen that isn't actually there, which is honestly pretty cool once you understand what's happening. So the big question after using these is, who are these actually made for? This is a very niche accessory. I definitely won't use them every time I use my Steam Deck, but there are specific situations where these will actually shine. If you travel a lot, especially flying, these make a ton of sense. You get a huge screen without needing a seat back display or pulling out a laptop, and you're not bothering anyone around you. If you don't have a big TV at home, or you're in a small space like a dorm room or a shared apartment, these actually give you a personal screen without needing the room for one. If you work in public places on sensitive information, these also make sense because they work with laptops and tablets too, so you're the only one that can see what's on your screen, and that privacy can actually be a big deal. And for Steam Deck owners specifically, I think these make the most sense if you game at night, share a space with someone, or want to play in positions where holding the deck up just isn't comfortable anymore. But if you game sitting upright, or you're perfectly happy with the Steam Deck screen as it is, you probably don't need these. This is one of those products that just make a ton of sense when your lifestyle matches the use case. Now for the pros and cons, starting with the positives, because there are some real ones here. First, the tech itself is genuinely cool. There's still a bit of that wow factor the first time you use them, especially if you've never tried this before. Setup is a huge win. They're truly plug and play, no apps, no downloads, no messing around. You plug them into your Steam Deck and you're in. The overall experience just feels premium, from the unboxing to the build quality to the way everything just works together. Nothing here feels cheap or rushed. One small but useful feature that they call electrochromatic tint. With a quick tap, the lenses darken, which made a huge difference at night when I wanted to block out the room without turning the lights off completely. Comfort-wise, I appreciate that they included multiple nose tips because I was able to pass them around to my family during the holidays. And probably the biggest pro is versatility, because everything is USB-C these days, so these work with a ton more than just the Steam Deck. Laptops, tablets, phones, which opens up way more use cases than just gaming. And on the flip side, this part matters just as much. The biggest con is the price. These are too expensive for an impulse buy, so I think that alone makes it a no-go for a lot of people. If you're on the fence about the price, you can check the link in my description. VITURE is offering a 10% discount. They also don't really look like regular sunglasses. That may or may not matter to you, but if you're wearing them in public, it is something to be aware of. At the end of the day, these are just another accessory to tag along with you. I mean, another thing to carry, to think about, and not something I'd personally want to bring with me everywhere. And finally, the use case is very situational. When they make sense, they make sense. But outside of those scenarios, they'll probably just stay in the case. So before wrapping this up, I do want to talk about what else was in the package that VITURE sent me, because it's pretty sick. First, these controllers. I received 2 of the VITURE 8BitDo Ultimate 2C controllers, and let me just say, they are so sick. The translucent design, the feel in the hand, the build quality. I have an 8BitDo Pro 2 controller as well, and these are exactly what you'd expect from them if you know their products. They work wired or over Bluetooth. They're fully usable with PCs, Androids, and some consoles. They also sent this Switch version of the controller. It works with both the Switch and the Switch 2. The hardware itself is legit. Hall effect sticks and triggers, refined bumpers and D-pads, extra mappable buttons, all the stuff you'd want from a premium controller. Now, I want to be clear about something because this does matter. These controllers, they have seamless integration when used with the VITURE Pro neckband, which I did not receive in my package. So these are just a nice addition to my controller collection. The other big piece here is the VITURE Pro mobile dock, and this is where the Switch conversation just starts to make more sense. The mobile dock lets you run devices like your Switch or Switch 2 in docked mode on the go. So it adds the HDMI support to the XR setup, and it even allows co-op support if you have 2 pairs of glasses. It also acts as a pretty serious power bank, so you can use it for your Steam Deck or handheld PCs. And I also received this Switch 2 mount for the mobile dock, which lets you clip everything together into one portable setup. VITURE also makes a dedicated Steam Deck clip for the mobile dock. I haven't tested it yet since it's being shipped separately, but it's worth knowing it exists if you're looking at this specifically from a Steam Deck's perspective. But if you're someone who plays a lot of Switch in handheld mode, or wants a bigger screen without changing how the way you play, this XR setup actually makes a lot of sense. And that said, this is still a very specific setup. It's not something everyone needs, and it's definitely not something I'd recommend blindly. But if your gaming habits line up with it, I can absolutely see the appeal. And one last thing worth mentioning is the immersive 3D feature. On supported phones and computers, VITURE lets you convert 2D games, pictures, or even videos into 3D. It's not something I focused on with my main use case being the Steam Deck, but it's worth knowing that feature exists if you're curious about how broad the ecosystem actually is. So to wrap things up, these don't replace the Steam Deck screen for me or even the TV, but what they are really cool. A very premium accessory that makes certain situations even better, especially night gaming, shared spaces, travel, when comfort or privacy matters more than anything else. If your lifestyle matches up with those use cases, I can totally see the appeal for you. VITURE did send these over for review, but everything you've seen here is my real experience using them with the Steam Deck. I'm never going to tell you that you need something like this. My goal is to just help you decide whether it works for your situation. If you have questions about how they work with the Steam Deck or any other device, just leave a question in the comments and I'll answer them as honestly as I can. If you're interested in learning more or want to take advantage of the 10% discount, I'll leave a link down in the description. But as always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.